Welcome to the Forge, my wanton wildlings. I'm your creepsmith, and I hope you like my work. In those times when things go really, truly, horribly wrong, our collective curiosity often turns to questions of what or who to blame. Even when it's something that's arguably described as an act of God, we're obsessed with the question, how did we get here? You'll be seeing that question addressed tonight in our look at Necrosis. I was unable to locate its author. Perhaps they were eaten. I figure that the public deserves to know about this. Maybe you know about it already. You've probably heard of the rise in the number of suicides, the homicides, the murders. All those crazy people, and then the shambling things that came afterwards. I was there when we discovered the spores that started this whole mess. Back in the 80s, an independent group of scientists, myself included, embarked on an expedition to Africa to research a notorious maddening substance known to the locals as wansine. Apparently, this substance was spread through beautiful blom flowers, which were found around the area. When inhaled, the wansine spores cause madness or dementia in the natives. The effects vary, though most of the time they turn apparently mad, and they feel an intense desire to murder others. I saw them stab themselves with spears and sticks and such, bashing foreheads as they went. They inflicted crippling wounds onto themselves. Some of these injuries were enough to kill a normal human being, but still, they kept moving. We studied one victim in a lab west of Kijuju, sealing him in a plate glass room with one-way mirrors. We left him adequate food and water, and then we shut him inside. From him, we learned of the necrosis happening on the skin. See, first, the skin pales. In this case, the native, who normally had beautiful coffee brown skin, well, that skin turned into a dry, cracked gray. Blotches started to form, and after those, sores. Through weeks of isolation, we saw his skin turn into an ugly, gray, cracked husk with greenish sores, and the whole time he kept blabbering on in Afrikaans. Days later, he self-terminated. As we were preparing his corpse to be returned for burial, we noticed that his body was twitching rapidly. It was too strange, too random to be called necrotic twitching. It was as if the corpse still wanted to move. After a rapid succession of such twitches, the corpse gave up and hung limp. We attempted another experiment after that. This actually led to my second discovery. The spores induce mutations in the body if tissue damage is severe enough. Apparently, the spores induced cellular reproduction within the bloodstream, creating cell after cell after cell after cell. We knew from this that something was wrong. A heavily wounded man exhibiting the symptoms of the Blom spores started to grow an inhuman amount of muscle tissue around the injured parts of his body. We sedated him and placed him in an isolation room for study. The results were frankly astonishing. The spores regenerated parts of the wounded man's body with a red mass that were pigmented such on the person's skin. The infected showed signs of an intense Wendigo psychosis, an insatiable desire to feed on the flesh of other humans. As the day passed by, I started to get weary, and I was just simply too tired to continue. I was also frightened. The other scientists were getting tired too. When the screaming started, it drove us to our knees. The man continued screaming, and continued further until his voice box gave out. It went on literally for days until we woke up hearing nothing and saw a bullet hole in his chest. The reddish man lay there, and I asked Peters, our hunter, if he'd euthanized the man. No, he said. Angel grabbed my gun when I was sleeping. We saw Angel, the researcher, curled into a fetal position in the corner of the lab, gun in hand. She was sobbing and whispering. We examined her for cuts and bruises, and we saw a bite mark embedded in her arm. It bit me. It bit me. I can't believe it bit me, she whispered. I wanted to take a blood sample from him, and he bit me, so I shot him. I shot him through the chest. That sick bastard. Sick bastard. We'd taken every precaution not to get infected with the Wansine agent, to the point of sterilization. Angel was obviously harboring the stage 1 symptoms of the Wansine complex. As we came closer to restrain her, she obviously knew what we intended to do and simply shot herself in the chest. Not in the forehead, where the brain will forever slumber, but the chest. After that incident, well, we decided to get the hell out of there. We attended to the dead, giving them all proper burials or returning them to their people for such. Then we left Africa. Due to one of my colleagues being Native American in ancestry, we decided to name the condition the Wendigo complex. But the thing was, this case was far from over. There was a final symptom discovered, and out of the 4 we knew of, this was the worst. That necrotic twitching that I talked about before, it gets worse. A Wansine-afflicted man was witnessed killing himself. As the coroner prepared his tools for the autopsy, he found the man shambling towards the door, exposed ribcage open. The man, gray-skinned and pupilless, let out a long moan before falling to the floor, viscera falling out and spreading all around. We were frightened, obviously, with the news of a reanimated corpse, for lack of a better term. Frightened beyond comparison, to say the least. But I suppose it was already too late for us. Spreading the agent would only happen one way, through inhalation of the spores. But with the outbreaks of Ebola near Blom-infested areas, the spores adapted somehow. They assimilated the characteristics of the virus, or infected the virus themselves. I'm not sure which. But the point is, it turned into a deadly, agile weapon. The agent could now spread through the blood. As such, the occurrences of infection were spreading, but the virus didn't spread enough to gain people's attention until 2 months later. Bizarre murders occurred throughout the region. People were apparently eaten. Sightings were recorded of groups of people eating other groups of people. It was mad. It was insane. To the few who knew about the Wendigo complex, this was a depressing thought. Through the months until the revelation of the massive Wendigo outbreak, I had lost almost all my colleagues. They died mostly by their own hands, guilty of becoming what they perceived as monsters. The first American sightings of the now named Wendigo men were in a small Floridian island, Casey Key. But by that time, the virus was already spreading across the Americas, Europe, Asia, Africa, mostly through birds and the like. Innocent people around the world became insane. The Wendigo men didn't stay for long, but their slow, shambling relatives took their place. We, the remaining scientists who first discovered the Wendigo virus, hesitated to call them what they really were. The living dead. Just like in the movies. We had thought we were clever, but this virus was smart. The whole purpose of the symptoms was to turn the person into one of those freaks. Apparently, the virus not only causes the necrosis, but it causes already dead tissue to reanimate. The Blomwansine spores were acting as some kind of reanimating agent. I don't know how else to describe it. It was terrifying to think that almost everyone in the world was shambling, stupidly, craving for the flesh of the living. But the virus had become airborne, and the majority of the population had turned into the Wendigo men. I don't know why I survived. The rest of the group of surviving scientists, myself included, were escorted by convoy to the President of the United States and further toward an underground bunker in disguise of a farming ranch. We were huddled up there, waiting for a miracle. I still remember the courageous, ambitious look on the president's face a decade ago. He was unfazed from all the horrors happening around him. The soldiers look up to him as a true leader of this band of Americans that were. Well, he's dead now. Every succeeding year, his strength waned. One half-baked soldier grudgingly placed a microphone towards a horde of the undead. The moans echoed through the military bunker. Every year there seemed to be that one person that flipped out, and our numbers began decreasing steadily. Gradually, the beasts got in. The president, tired and weary, embraced the freaks with open arms. I killed him myself. He got a chunk of my flesh as I was killing him, though. Well, I guess the virus just spread through my lungs. I suppose I should wonder why I'm not going crazy. Just remember, when one gets infected, they're not the same person as before. That person is dead. This is just the body. Shoot the head. Be careful of water, too. Drink bottled shit. The virus is waterborne in some parts of the country. What else? The necrovirus usually causes simple necrosis. I said that before. Just watch out for patches of skin that seem oddly dry. Dry skin. Itchy skin. If you read this, I can't tell you how common those words became. But I don't know, and I'm afraid to say the other lines. I can't speak them. It's too horrible. I just can't. What I'm going to become is 10 times worse than anything I've ever imagined in this world. I can feel it eating away my body now. I'm dying, and I can't whimper. My remaining strength has gone to locking myself up. have left some supplies behind for whoever finds this. I stocked the closet in the back of the room with supplies, a week's worth of food, my remaining boxes of shotgun shells, pistol clips, ammo, 10 days worth of gas. I suggest you drive toward Mexico as far as you can, whoever you are, because they're going to spread. Once you get there, turn about and go to Antarctica. As for me, I don't know. Still, I'm dead. Deader than dead. Oh, Pistol, you were always there for me. Its muzzle, it's caked with blood. Tried to shoot myself in the head a few hours ago, but I decided not to. I had shot one of those things in the face first, and when I pushed the muzzle against my temple, it was still so hot that it branded the skin of my head with a penny-shaped hole. I winced a bit from the pain, but I thought of you, and I guess my pain didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the pain I'm going to cause you. I don't know how There goes my uvula. Look at that thing. Throbbing its last. It doesn't even hurt. Doesn't hurt a bit. Even though blood just wells inside my mouth. Just need a little water or something. Oh, that'll wash it out. So itchy. Damn it. Right arm. All dry and patchy at parts. Just have to scratch. There. Itchy. Gone. I mean, the itch is gone. Maybe I'll just sit here, wait for it to get me. I can't pull the trigger. I want to die, but I can't. People upstairs. Scratch, itchy, not gone. People tasty. Taste. It may be a little cheesy, but I really like this one, especially that last bit. See, I've been a big Resident Evil fan for quite a long time. As for you wildlings, stay scary, avoid the shamblers, and make the most of your nights.